Hi guys, now I know what you're thinking, Jurassic World, review that. I would love to, honest to God, I would love to review that. But, to be honest, I haven't had the chance recently because I've been so busy with stuff. But as soon as I get the chance, honest to God, I will review it as soon as I can. So the fact that I can't review Jurassic World, I thought I would, make it up to you guys and review probably one of the better films of 2015 so far. Kingsman, The Secret Service. So Kingsman, The Secret Service is directed by Matthew Vaughn and stars Taron Egerton, the newcomer, Colin Firth, Michael Caine, Samuel L. Jackson, and what's his name? Mark Strong. So this is a basic rags to riches kind of story. Taron Egerton is a typical chav antisocial youth, and his father was a Kingsman, which is a secret spy organisation that work from and within a tailor shop, which actually is in London if you go and check it out. When his dad died when he was very young, Colin Firth made a promise, and later in the future, when Taron Egerton becomes a little bit, not very nice and antisocial, Colin Firth decides to recruit him in a way, and then you get this film that is pretty much one of those recruiting films, like X-Men First Class. The bulk of that was just trying to see these people with superpowers trying to use their abilities in, productive ways. Now this film cements why Matthew Vaughn is such a great director. My two favourite directors of recent times are Quentin Tarantino and Christopher Nolan, but Matthew Vaughn's just below them. This film is everything I wanted it to be. It's brutal, it's funny, and it's everything you would want from a film like this. Now, one of the highlights about this film is the fact that it pays homage to the old-fashioned James Bond films that didn't take themselves seriously. You have characters with amputations that are beyond over the top. You have a woman with knives for feet. What do you expect? There are also some jokes in it as well that pay homage to the old James Bond films, like a joke at the end, kind of taking the piss out of how James Bond used to always sleep with every woman he touched. And it's one of the funniest things in the entire film. Now, one thing I must mention is the acting. Everyone in this film is perfect. Samuel L. Jackson really works as a villain. Now, you'd think with a lisp like his, it wouldn't work. Oh, by the way, he has a lisp in this film. Because sometimes during the trailers, it came across a little bit Waterboy-ish, Gonna open a can of whoop ass on you. It never becomes comical. It always becomes just the right level of comedic, which is just what you need in a film like this. Colin Firth is perfect in his role. He's a perfect, gentleman spy kind of figure. But the bit that surprised me, and pretty much everyone that's watched it, is that he handles the action scenes so well. The standout performance has to be Taron Egerton, who knocks it out the park, both as a chavvy antisocial character and as a Kingsman spy. I have to admit, for his first ever performing role and main role in a film, he is perfect. Matthew Vaughn does a great job at casting unknown people as the main character, and they knock it out the park. Just look at Aaron Taylor-Johnson in Kick-Ass. He's great in that, and he's been great in other films that he's done since. But Taron Egerton is definitely one to watch out, and I can definitely see him being in a lot more films in the future. And that is an Aaron guarantee. When I heard that there was an action fight scene in a church to Leonard Skinner's Freebird, I knew I had to watch this film. Somehow Matthew Vaughn manages to combine brutal violence with the funniest of situations and not make it harsh at all. Because with some films, the violence can be there, but it can be quite off-putting seeing that there's too much blood or, there's attention to detail. But Matthew Vaughn creates these disturbingly graphic fight scenes, but manages to put a bit of fun into them. Like I mentioned a little bit a minute ago, the soundtrack is perfect. You get Dire Straits, you get Leonard Skinner, it's just perfect all the way through. Even though I've mentioned a load of positives at the moment, there are a couple of minor faults with this film that I do have to bring up. There are a couple of pacing problems along the way. It starts going at this steady speed in like the middle section, but there are bits here and there that just either go too fast or too slow and you don't know what it's trying to do. But apart from that, the pacing is good for the middle part. Also, there are some subplots and side plots that don't quite result to anything. One side plot is actually resolved about mid-credits, which is quite a relief, but it's a bit disappointing that the rest aren't, picked up. Also, for a big budget action film, you'd think the effects would be top notch. And for the most part they are, but there are some very obvious moments during some very fast fight sequences where they are not up to scratch as you'd expect them to be. Things look fake and they're not supposed to, and you shouldn't really get that in a film like this. Despite a few flaws, I loved Kingsman. It's probably one of my favourite films of the year. It's fun, it's stylish, it's full of surprises. The amount of twists and turns the story makes in this film is very, very well done, and I have to give props to Matthew Vaughn for that, because in a film like this you don't expect that kind of thing. I highly recommend this film to anyone who likes the old-fashioned Bond films or just good action films, and I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Like I said at the start, I am trying so hard to try and get to see Jurassic World, but I will review it as soon as I can. Also, in other news, my short film In Memory, that should be coming out in a couple of weeks. I've already started editing that, so that should be fun. Also, remember to like my Facebook page, The Media Critic. Go and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Vine if you want to. Subscribe, please subscribe. I really would love the support. But apart from that, you guys have been awesome, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys!